You've drafted your team, you're ready to roll for 2024 fantasy baseball, but you've already got a player on the IL, a rookie you took a chance on didn't make the team, or you're just looking to add some more upside on your bench. Whatever the case is, it's not too early to hit the waiver wire. I've got to start with Victor Scott, who was sent down to the minors and then immediately brought back up. Dylan Carlson got hurt, and so now Scott gets his chance on opening day to crack the lineup. Scott has been a kind of industry darling all throughout the preseason, somebody that fantasy analysts are all over, and even people who are just either prospect hounds or maybe casual fans who happen to know about him. You're going to hear the same thing over and over again, the Esteury Ruiz comp. So basically it goes like this. If you liked Ruiz last year, you're going to love Scott this year. The difference is, well, first of all, different teams, different players. But look, last year, nobody was really on Ruiz. Well, almost nobody. I actually had him on my sleeper video last preseason. Go ahead and check the tape. Scott has gotten a lot of buzz this preseason, it seems like, but for good reason. He's been hot all spring training, and he has just the same kind of speed as Ruiz. And of course, when a guy like Ruiz goes out and steals 67 bases and comes out of nowhere, most people just added him off of waivers and helped them win the steals category. Yeah, you're going to take notice. Who is this year's version of that? So sure, it makes sense. Scott could be that very same type of player. There are some similarities to them. Last year, Victor Scott stole 94 bases in the minors. That's right, 94 bases between single A and double A combined. And at the double A level, he also hit 323. You'll hear some people say, oh, well, Scott's a better hitter than Ruiz. Ruiz didn't really hit for average last year. But Ruiz hit for average in the minors. It's not a slam dunk that Scott's going to hit 300 at the major league level. We know this. This goes for any rookie. So we'll see making the jump if it happens for him. There's obviously tremendous upside. He really doesn't have to hit 300 to give value for your team if he's stealing bases. Now, another speedy outfielder I've talked about a lot is Will Benson of the Reds. He could have been a late draft pick, but he wasn't taken in a lot of leagues because right now only 22% rostered across Yahoo leagues. That number is starting to climb because TJ Friedl will be out several weeks with a broken wrist, and of course Noelvi Marte, the third baseman, suspended half the season. Playing time just keeps opening up for Cincinnati. Oh, and Matt McLain, the second baseman, shoulder surgery, hopefully will be back at all this season. Now Benson, just being an outfielder, that's where he's going to stick, but obviously they're going to need his bat. He might be in a platoon with Stuart Fairchild, but I feel like he'll be in there most of the time because he's got a strong glove, he has power, he has speed, and he would be on the strong side anyways being lefty. As a reminder, last year in 287 at-bats, went for 11 home runs and 19 steals. So good chance that he could go, 20 home runs, 30 steals. I think that's pretty reasonable. Let's talk about another speedy outfielder, another rookie getting his chance to make an impression. Ceddanne Rafaela in Boston has made the opening day roster. So let's see where he is in the lineup, how often he's in the lineup, but he's done nothing but impress this spring. He's always been an impressive defender, but he also has plus speed, definitely a threat to steal, but he also has a little bit of pop. Last year, across the minors, AA and AAA, hit 20 home runs. The year before that, he hit 21 home runs in the minors. And what's even better, as I mentioned before, is he does also play pretty good second base or even shortstop. He can kind of move around anywhere. That's the kind of defender he is. We know Von Grissom is hurt starting the season. Could be some additional playing time for Rafaela right off the bat. And before I get to the pitchers, let me talk about another hitter who I keep talking about. Last chance if you want a catcher with upside, Luis Campusano of the Padres. Already one of the leading hitters in the major leagues. I mean, I know only 2 teams have played so far, at least as of right now. Look, 3 hits, and 2 of them were doubles, 2 RBIs in the Seoul series. Campusano had a very nice second game of the season. I do expect this to last for the most part because he's always been a very high-end prospect as far as hit tool. He's got some power. And look, this Padres lineup maybe isn't as impressive as it was a year ago, but he will still have a chance to drive in plenty of runs, hitting slightly behind guys like Fernando Tatis and Manny Machado. All right, but here's where you're more likely to need help right away. It's pitching because so many pitchers already getting injured, especially closers. So who is worth adding now? First, a quick reminder that Underdog will have MLB action all season long. You can do pick'ems every single day for every single game. Look at so many options for players, so check those out. And there's going to be season-long picks as well. If you haven't tried Underdog yet, you can sign up now. Use promo code Endgame. That gets you a 100% deposit match when you sign up to $100, and then you can start making your MLB picks right away. All right, time for pitcher pickups. Let's start in New York. No, not the Yankees, not yet. Let's actually start with the Mets. A former Yankee, Luis Severino. He really started to gain some traction as spring training went on, and he kept looking better and better. He's actually been kind of dominant. I know it's spring, but still, we know what he can do, or at least what he has done in the past. Some people took a late round flyer on him, but he's still less than half owned across Yahoo leagues, so there's a good chance a lot of you could find him on waivers. Now, the reason he wasn't drafted everywhere is very obvious. He stunk last year, a 6.65 ERA, 1.65 whip. And that's in addition to all the injury trouble that he's had over the last couple of years. There's some worry that maybe he was tipping his pitches. Is that something that's fixable? Yeah, sure. And it seems like he has done that, or at least he's aware of it and he's addressed it. What about velocity? Well, the velocity is not really down because it's been consistent the last couple of years that he's been healthy. It's not what it was in his prime before, let's say 2019, before all the injuries started piling up. But still, I don't think that is the issue. Look, it's a combination of factors. His mechanics were off, the tipping potentially. He just wasn't the same pitcher that he used to be. Can he be different now? Well, again, spring training, take it, with a grain of salt, but so far, a very different look from him. You want to discount his ERA over some exhibition games, fine, but what's impressive is that he had 12 strikeouts and only 1 walk so far this spring. But the main thing is he just looks right. He seems to be in a routine. He seems healthy. He's pumped up. He's probably motivated to prove that he still belongs on the mound. And the Mets need him, frankly. So he's used to pitching in New York. He seems to be in a good situation. Obviously, you got to have some healthy skepticism here. But if he's healthy, he could definitely come up huge. All right, now that other New York team, they got a hole in that rotation with Garrett Cole out for a long time. And they chose not to sign Blake Snell or trade for Dylan Cease or do the extremely obvious and easy thing and get Jordan Montgomery back. And they didn't. So who's the guy who's going to fill Garrett Cole, reigning Cy Young Award winner's spot in the rotation? Luis Gil. Gil's numbers from last year really won't stand out because he has none. He didn't pitch. Besides the fact he's coming off serious injury, if you look at his numbers throughout the minors before 2022 and prior, they really didn't stand out either. In fact, he had a pretty high walk rate throughout the minors. And in his 33 innings of major league action that he's seen, he had a high walk rate too, of 14.2%. Now, he does have some good strikeout numbers, but still, this seems like a pretty risky pick, so why advocate for him? Obviously, the Yankees feel good enough about him that they're giving him a chance. He just needs to kind of harness that command. This is the issue with a lot of young pitchers. Gil is definitely more of a deep league ad at this point. He's going to get a lot of attention being in New York, so I'm not going to say to rush out and grab him, especially just because other people are doing it, but definitely a name to monitor. Now, if there's a rookie to be excited about, and he's being added a lot more since making the rotation, it's Max Meyer for Miami. And just like Gil, I have no stats to read for you from last year for Meyer because also coming off of elbow surgery. So we have to go back and remember that in 2020, he was a number 3 draft pick for the Marlins. This was a high-end prospect. This isn't somebody who's going to rely on his velocity. He's really a slider-first type of pitcher. He's got a decent fastball, but again, location will matter for him a whole lot. Health, of course, also matters. The Marlins already banged up in the rotation, but Meyer did show enough. They didn't have to keep him in the rotation here, and they could have made a move to get a cheap veteran, but they're giving him a chance, and we know, if anything, they have a pretty good reputation for developing young pitchers, and it's a pitcher-friendly park. It's also kind of nice that the Marlins start the year with offenses like the Pirates and the Angels, so Meyer's first go-round probably won't get lit up. I will say with any rookie pitcher, you're always going to want to be a little bit cautious. Don't roll him out there in negative matchups. But with Meyer, I think we can trust him at least the first time around and then see how he looks. Another Marlin who did make the rotation, this one more surprising, it's A.J. Puck, last year's closer. Puck is another guy I already talked a lot about and why I like him and why you should like him. But let me just put it this way. How surprising was it that Puck is in here? I mean, Meyer was always destined for the rotation at some point. It was just the injury that kept him out. Puck has been a high-end prospect a long time ago, and he's been solid as a reliever. In 4 years' worth of pitching in the majors, he has never started a game. Last year, he notched 15 saves and looked pretty good early on before kind of falling off a little bit and losing the job to Tanner Scott. Well, now they're going to see what he can do as a starter. I think he can do good things. He's looked really sharp this spring as well. This is a new trend which is really interesting in the majors. It used to never be the case where you would take a guy who was a 1-2 inning pitcher and try to stretch him out and make him a starter. We've seen plenty of examples of guys who came up as starters, maybe had some experience in the majors starting, and then transitioned to the bullpen because they just, got fatigued. They couldn't last as long as a starter. But now, all of a sudden, we're seeing the reverse, and it'll be really interesting to see how this plays out. So we have Garrett Crochet, who was a oft-injured setup man for the White Sox, who's now the opening day starter. Jordan Hicks, who is now in San Francisco, a guy who used to be a closer, often injured for the Cardinals, and now they're going to stretch him out. It's the same thing with Puck. Great arm talent, lots of injuries, never been a starter, and now all of a sudden, here we go. We know there's risk with all of these pitchers. I'm here for it. I'm going to go in on these guys, and let's see what happens. Injury can happen to any pitcher, so I'm going to trust the talent here and the opportunity. But now an actual closer, maybe. Look, if you're looking for saves early on, and who isn't, you know that Yohan Duran of the Twins is out for a while. The replacement, it looks like, will be either Griffin Jax or Brock Stewart or a combination of both. I'm putting my money on Jax. Now, Rocco Baldelli will not commit to one guy, at least not publicly. I'm betting on Jax because he just has better stuff. We look at his StatCast from last year, a ton of red there. What I especially like is 97th percentile in barrel rate. He does not give up a lot of hard hits, and he has a high ground ball rate. He does also have the strikeout stuff, so in addition to saves, he'll get you some Ks. You have to keep in mind this is probably not going to be a long-term ad because Duran hopefully will be back sooner than later, but you never know, and if Jax is effective, he could still be in line for the occasional save afterwards. And then if you're willing to roll the dice on a talented but very inconsistent starter, let's go with Jack Flaherty. You know the story with him. Sometimes he looks dominant, and sometimes he looks like he doesn't belong in the majors. And then, of course, injuries for him as well. But so far, in his go-around as a Tiger in the spring, he's looked really sharp. His final outing, 4 2/3 innings, struck out 8 batters. You kind of have to hold your breath with him, but look, I like this Tigers rotation. Favorable park situation there. Not a tough division. Flaherty has the stuff, just needs that consistency, which maybe will come with experience, maybe change of scenery, maybe just staying healthy. We'll see. That's a lot of maybes, but again, you're looking for upside on the waiver wire. He's probably got more upside than any other starting pitcher that's available. We're going to be here all season long to help you with waiver wire picks every week, trade advice, and more, in addition to live advice. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and give us a thumbs up.